Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Prosperity, Livability, and Safety Committee meeting. Today, we do not have a quorum, so we will not be calling this meeting to order. It's a presentation only. We had a council member whose mother had emergency surgery last night, and we have two other members joining us by Zoom. So today, we are going to listen to High Point University rowing operations and boathouse update from staff, and we have Lee Tillery, our director, and Eugene Coleman. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to see everyone. We're happy to come here and talk to you a little bit about High Point University and our rowing program. For an introduction standpoint, you guys know Tracy Pegram, our assistant director. I have Colton Marble with me, who I know you guys are familiar with. Colton runs our special facilities division and has been working with me hand in hand with High Point University since really the thought came, or the idea came to us from the university about their rowing program and the possibilities of using Oak Hollow Lake. So he's going to assist me with the presentation today as we go through it. So I want to give you guys a little bit of a history of last 3 years when we've been in discussions with High Point University, how they approached us about the evolution of a women's Division I rowing team and the possibilities about using Oak Hollow Lake. They started some discussions about a boathouse, and we'll talk a lot about the boathouse, kind of logistics, what their practice schedule would look like in general, future regattas. As you guys know, we have a great site for regattas at Festival Park, as a Triad Rowing Club has been in place for a number of years. Holds 2 big regattas a year. So we felt like that was a natural fit. So we'll talk a little bit about that process. I won't bore you with all the details. We'll talk a little bit about how we got to where we are today, and then be happy to answer some questions and talk about some concerns that have popped up in recent weeks. A lot of those are focused on logistics, launching on the lake, how we administer launches on the lake, and where and how we do it. So we're happy to talk about that and happy to answer any questions you guys may have on the program. So on the agenda for September 22nd, you will see a proposed lease for their boathouse. So we're going to lead up to what that means and how we got to that point. And basically talk about where we ended up with the boathouse and how we got there. But first of all, I want to talk a little bit about what rowing is on the lake, what we do with rowing and how it's in place and where we are on the lake. If you guys know Oak Hollow Lake, and I think y'all are familiar with it, we have 4 parks on the lake. We have the Marina, Sailboat Point, and then the North Overlook and Festival Park. We do not have any boat entries, boat access along North Overlook. So we only have 3 parks where you can access the lake via launch or via a ramp. So in the fall of 2021, HPU announced that they were going to start a Division I rowing program, and we started those conversations about utilizing the lake and what they would do as far as a boathouse on Oak Hollow Lake. And just to back up a little bit, we've had rowing there since before I was here. I came here in 2013, so we've had rowing here before then. I'm not sure exactly when they started as a rowing club, but we have a Triad rowing group, and they do rowing for both youth and adult in High Point and in the region. We've done some things to really booster that program, as you can see, working with us at High Point to install a new launch dock at Festival Park for those regattas. We store their equipment in our launch area at Sailboat Point as well. Let's move on to... So in spring of 2024, we partnered with Visit High Point to purchase materials for a buoyed race course to support some economic impact from rowing events in High Point. So we talked about 2 big rowing events each year. They wanted to jump in, help us out. We bring numerous people from around the country to High Point twice a year, both in the spring and the fall for their regattas. So we wanted to benefit that program, talk a little bit more about that, what the benefits of how High Point University rowing program, if they hosted events and scrimmages, what that would look like as well. In 2024 was their inaugural season. with their Division I program. So they've been in place for a year. We're in their second year with their program. We decided that Oak Hollow would serve as our home base and Sailboat Point as a primary practice location. So the City of High Point, we continue discussions with HPU on the potential boathouse scenarios and options. So talk a little bit about their season and where they are. From a rowing standpoint, their fall season takes place in late August and goes to early November. Spring season goes from mid-February to mid-May. So right now they have just like a temporary tent out that they use at Sailboat Point for storage, for equipment operations. It's kind of a hub during the rowing season, and it's removed between the seasons as well. They'll host rowing events in the future, but right now we don't have any in place. So this is not uncommon. You'll see that other universities do this on lakes throughout North Carolina and in the Southeast. These are just 3 examples of what they do with the University of North Carolina, with Duke and Wake Forest University. They have similar agreements that we're going to bring to you guys here on the 22nd in place. So we went through what we thought would be potential sites for a boathouse. So this was a long process that we went through with HPU. We started looking at the 3 parks in which we could possibly host or build or let them lease areas for a boathouse on the lake. Our initial evaluation took us to Festival Park. This was before we did the Festival Park site master plan. We started looking at various areas in which that boathouse could sit in Festival Park. In the end, we decided against that location due to the impact with the dam, due to the impact with special events that we already have in place, and a little bit of uncertainty as we started getting into what we would develop with the Festival Park site master plan. Obviously, we host some big events throughout the course of the year there with Uncle Sam Jam, the Coltrane Festival, and now CVB is doing a variety of events there. So we didn't have a good feel for what that would look like and how that would work as far as our operations and logistics in that park. We do have a boat ramp that goes into the water there, and people are able to use that. HPU Club Rowing actually uses that now as a practice site. So the ramp was in place. We just didn't feel like the location would work well. A lot of concerns with the dam, a lot of concerns with really enough space in that building. Festival Park seems big, but it's not a big place. We don't have a lot of square footage in that particular area. So we turned away from that actual location, but that was the first one that we looked at when we started evaluating where this boathouse would go first. So after we rejected that one, we moved on to the Oak Hollow Marina. And you can see some of the parcels that we started looking at and considering for a boathouse in that particular area. Those are the actual addresses, but we ran into some different concerns with zoning, some developmental limits, operations, and access to the lake. It just didn't work out. And if you can see those arrows, those are actually 3 different parcels that we look at that the city owns, that a possible boathouse would work in that situation. Oak Hollow Marina, roughly 85% of all of our launches take place there. So you're looking at logistics concerns, site concerns, how we interact with the public, accessibility to the lake. It's a big fishing area. We were a recipient of a state grant years ago to improve the accessibility within that area. So how would they access the lake? We didn't want to go against any of the other plans that we had in place or what that park looked like before. So this just didn't work out for a number of reasons. So we've looked at Festival, we've looked at Marina, so then we moved over to Sailboat Point as that's our 3rd option, and really our only option left if they wanted to utilize the lake and with the boathouse with accessibility to the water. So here, if you guys are familiar with Sailboat Point, this shows you a little bit about where that new boathouse will be located. After we got to Sailboat Point, we started looking at a number of factors. One, we don't have a ton of room there as well either. We do have the Oak Hollow Sailing Club that's based out of this location, as is the Triad Rowing Club. At that time, we had 3 docks. 2 were high-profile docks. 1 was a lower dock, more for rowing, canoes, kayaks, things of that nature. Then we have a beach access there as well, too. The city owns roughly 10 acres through there. They are divided up, if you look at the map on the right, in a variety of parcels. So those parcels When you look at where that house will sit, the proposed new boathouse and the parking lot, it does encompass 4 parcels as it is at Sailboat Point now. Again, the city owns all those parcels, including obviously the trail down to the lake. But you'll see room for a boathouse. You'll see room for parking. You'll see a path that runs down not only to the restroom, but it continues going all the way down to the lake where their dock is located. And their dock is located right next to what you see as the existing shelter. So it's the one closest in that area. And that dock is a rowing dock. That dock is one that HBU has replaced, paid for that dock, paid for the installation of that dock as well. The good news about this plan from our standpoint is, one, it doesn't interfere with any other operations on the lake for public use, for parking, entry into the park, exit out of the park. Matter of fact, they have their own parking up there, and we've talked to them about what parking will look like with the new boathouse, who will be there, how many cars will be there, not interfering with public use of the park as well, too. So we feel like the location it works really well. It's just open space right now. We do have an existing house that the city bought and owns. You can see that where it's appropriately termed existing house, and it is now serving as a park ranger venue on the lake. That's where we also store our safety boat, our patrol boat, for the lake as well for easy access there. So that's where the final product ended up with. There's a little bit better picture on the left to show you a little bit more where those parcels are and how those parcels are divided with the properties we own there at Sailboat Point. And that'll show you, their access to the lake. I feel like that's our best bet as far as where this boathouse could be located. HBU has been designing a building according to this plan and where it sits in that particular area. It is, when we talk about a lease for the area, it's only a lease for the land in which the boathouse sits. So we're looking at 0.6 acres within that park. It's not a lease for the entire park. Again, it doesn't change anything operationally from our standpoint at Sailboat Point and how we manage that park. Colton's going to talk to you a little bit about rowing and sailing, and then we're going to talk to you a little bit about some of the questions you've received as far as docks, accessibility to the lake, who uses the lake and how they use the lake, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions on that as well.
Good morning, everybody. Real quick, these are just 2 of the existing user groups at Sailboat Point. Obviously, we have the general public that uses that place on a regular basis, and neighbors and all that kind of stuff. These are the 2 main groups right here, but I'll go back 1 slide. That picture on the right, you can see far left, those are the rowing sculls that are stored by Triad United Rowing. Those stay there year-round. And that back line of the parking lot, that's where the Oak Hollow Sailing Club has their boat storage. As part of their membership dues, some of the members get boat storage, and those are paid directly to Oak Hollow Sailing Club, not the city of High Point. So just kind of give you a layout of where that works. And then the open area parking lot for the general public. So Triad United Rowing operate essentially year-round. When the weather's too cold, they do have an indoor facility in Jamestown that they do kind of the rowing machines and stuff like that. There's no charge for Triad United Rowing for storing their equipment at Sailboat Point, but they must purchase annual launch passes from our department. So those are $75 each. They purchase 6 each year just based on the number of boats they have on at the same time. They obviously have more than 6 boats, but at one time, 6 is probably the most that they're going to launch at one time. So, and they also operate 2 annual regattas like Lee was talking about in April and October. The other main group that stays there is Oak Hollow Sailing Club. There's, once again, no charge for the boat storage. They must purchase that same annual pass that the rowing group has to do. Each individual has to purchase that annual launch pass as part of their agreement in their membership. And they pay the annual dues to Oak Hollow Sailing Club. And part of the requirements is that the boats must be kept in, quote, trailerable and sailing condition. So that's what they have written in their bylaws for their members, including any North Carolina wildlife requirements for registration, et cetera. So based on the length of the boat, they have different requirements from the state on what must be registered versus can just be stored. So that's in place so it doesn't become just a storage of old, unkept boats. So you can kind of see there's the 3 docks there, the blue and the 2 yellow ones, but there's a little bit of a shadow beneath that, and there, what used to be in place prior to 2019 was a wooden T-dock, 1 dock that went out straight, 1 launch area, and then that you can see the kind of light purple those are the areas where you could stash your boat and get it ready before you can actually get on the water. But in 2019, we had that Connect NC bond grant that Lee was talking about. We met with the user groups at Sailboat Point and Ocala Marina to figure out what the best setup would be to make sure all the groups have what they need. So we replaced that T-dock with the 3 new floating docks. One low-profile dock, which is the kayaks, rowing, stand-up paddle boards, stuff like that, and then 2 traditional higher-profile docks for the powered boats and sailboats. So when we say high profile versus low profile, it's really just kind of the height off the top of the water, and that with whatever vessel you're trying to get in impacts what kind of dock you'd really want to use. So in spring 2024, after the discussions about the boathouse and the Division I rowing team, we met with Triad United Rowing and Ocala Sailing Club, trying to figure out the preferred layouts for the next iteration of what these docks look like at Sailboat Point. So Triad United Rowing, they have the dock on the far left. That's their primary dock. All of these docks are publicly open to the public, but that's the primary user group on that dock on the left. They wanted to extend that by 20 feet, make it longer so they can have more of their boats launch at the same time. Ocala Sailing Club requested to keep the middle dock as high profile and also extend that by 20 feet so they can stage more boats when they launch. We discussed the option of trying to make 4 docks in this space, but Ocala Sailing Club preferred to keep it at 3 to have more space in between the docks for when they're launching their boats and all that stuff. So we did potentially look at 4, but it was really going to be crushed in there. So the Ocala Sailing Club has some multi-hull boats, such as catamarans. They can launch from the beach access as well. So they asked that we didn't adjust the beach access at all or anything like that. They use that pretty frequently. So this is after those discussions with the user groups, you can see the docks. Those are the 3 docks. On the far left, that's the newest dock that HPU paid to install. The middle dock is that high-profile dock that we talked about. And in the far right, that's the Triad United Rowing, quote-unquote, dock. Once again, all accessible to the public. But when they're practicing, they are the primary user group on those docks. So if you see the picture on the right, that shows a little bit closer up to that dock that HPU built or paid to do. You see the accessible gangway area, and then there's 2 launch fingers that stick out. That's where they store their flat-bottom boats for their coaches, and those stay there during their practice seasons. They're in place there. So there is some impact to that launching, where you can kind of see on the ramp area, the area with an X versus the area that's kind of open. Those ones that are blank and open, that's where you can back a trailer down. There's a ramp there, so you can actually launch a boat. So the impact here, obviously, is with those 2 fingers on each side. You cannot back your trailer down there to launch your boat on that specific dock. Of course, anybody can go out there, launch their kayak, stand a paddleboard, any of that kind of stuff, but you cannot back a trailer down next to that dock, if that makes sense. So talk a little bit about HPU Rowing and their investments in the infrastructure that we have. They paid for the purchase and installation of an additional dock at Festival Park, this quote-unquote the return dock. It was about $104,000, and it was installed in fall of 2024. They wanted to meet our timeline for trying to do the Triad United Regatta, which doesn't impact HPU at all, but they knew we wanted it for that, so they made sure it was installed before then. And they also paid for that dock replacement at Sailboat Point, like we talked about. The dock that was there, it was in 2019, and then we had replaced it in 2024. It's not a long time. So we were able to use those dock materials, take them over to the other side of the lake for Ocala Campground, replace those docks. So materials were not wasted there. And then there's the planned investment in the boathouse and surrounding infrastructure. Lee mentioned the buoyed race course for regattas. The design for the boathouse will have a storage space for that. They'll store that race materials for us, so we don't have to try to use our already stretched storage space. So I know there's been some concerns about the docks that have been voiced, so I want to make sure we're trying to be transparent here. Those fingers that I talked about, there's 20-foot dock sections on each side, so that makes it, like I said, you can't back a trailer down that space. When we did this dock change, it reduced the number of the high-profile docks. We had 2 there before. Now there's only 1. So Ocala Sailing Club can utilize that high-profile dock still. and the beach launch. And with that, we reduced the number of vehicle launch ramps from 6 to 4. So you got 3 docks. There's a ramp on each side of each dock. So with the HPU dock, that reduces 2 of those as trailerable ramps, if that makes sense. So the other 2 still have access on both sides of each of those docks. This first dock is limited on what you can do with a trailer. So it went from 6 to 4, if that makes sense, 2 for each dock. So I want to compare some just marina operations. Our primary location is Ocala Marina, Sailboat Point. They're on the same lake, directly across from each other. Ocala Marina, you can do powered, non-powered boat launches. We do our watercraft rentals, bank fishing, our marina point-of-sale operations, some staff offices, and there's some public restrooms in that facility as well. We also have the playground, and there's boat storage that individuals purchase from the city of High Point. That all happens on the Ocala Marina side. There's 2 of those traditional high-profile docks at Ocala Marina. There's also an ADA accessible kayak launch and another beach launch area. So Ocala Marina has those 2 docks, and then there's 2 ramps on each side. So you got 2 docks, 4 ramps. Does that make sense? And like Lee said, approximately 85% of our launches happen at Ocala Marina. And at Sailboat Point, primarily non-powered launches. We don't get a lot of powered launches on that side, and that's intentional. There's a park shelter, and there's public restrooms over there. And like we've mentioned, Triad United Rowing and Ocala Sailing Club operate out of Sailboat Point. And we have the Park Ranger boat storage. And so there's the 1 traditional high-profile dock and 2 low-profile docks and the beach launch area. So now that we've removed the ability to trailer on 2 of those launches, there's 4 at Sailboat Point that you can back a trailer down, and there's 4 at Ocala Marina that you can back a trailer down. And here's just some satellite views of them. Ocala Marina on the left, Sailboat Point on the right. We've looked a lot at Sailboat Point already, but on the left there's Ocala Marina. You see the 2 high-profile docks at the top. That's our main launch area. To the left of that is the ADA kayak launch at the beach. And then there's a fishing pier that's over on the far left, near the playground. I'm happy to take any questions.
Do you have a question? Okay, well, I did, so anyway, we've got Council Member Andrew on Zoom, and this is in his ward, and he had some concerns, like from some citizens about traffic on Waterview, but it almost seems like this might help relieve that, because if they have storage for their boats, because the other competing teams, they go to Ocala Marina, right? Because the competitions are in that main portion of the lake. So would it only be the HPU rowing team that would be launching from there during competitions for HPU?
Yeah, good morning, ma'am. Damon Duquesne, Assistant City Manager, so I'll answer that question. And Mr. Tiller is welcome to add on to it if you would like. So there's no increase to traffic going out there with these improvements. These activities are already occurring.
Right, okay.
So even before the boathouse proposition or anything like that, these activities were already occurring at the lake and already being done. So also these activities tend to occur at off times, like pretty early in the morning, and they get out there. So this is not, during traditional sort of rush hour, people coming in and going out, either commuting to or from work. And the traffic counts are no higher than they were previously. So that's all been looked at. We don't see any negative impact to the neighborhood. And we've heard from them for some time, and honestly, to Councilmember Andrews' credit, he has been a good source for us getting information back out to those folks, and we appreciate that as well.
Right.
And I could just, on part of your question, I believe you're referencing like the regattas when we have the other teams come in. That all gets staged at Festival Park. They bring their trailers in and all that stuff. So if there's an event day for a regatta, it's not happening out of Sailboat Point. And a lot of it's not even happening at Ocala Marina. That's what Festival Park is kind of set up for. We have the launch dock and the return dock, so that helps with that. But all the visiting teams will store their stuff when they come at Festival Park.
Well, okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and Monica, from just a logistics standpoint, the High Point U's practices, Triad Rowing's practice, and at different times throughout the course of the day, the public still has access to the park, even with 2 or 4 trailable ramps into the water at Sailboat Point. We've never found that it's ever congested or there's not a lot of traffic unless we have a sailboat. Oak Hollow Sailing Group will have some regattas throughout the course of the year, 8 or 10 of them throughout the course of the year, and there can be more traffic there. But even with just 20 boats being stored over at Sailboat Point, it's not an issue where there's a lot of traffic or a lot of competition to use those ramps into the water, so that really helps.
Well, I just made a couple other notes. So I have been to the regattas, and they are spectacular. I know that we've got one upcoming, the October 5th. It is the High Point Autumn Rowing Festival presented by Bethany Medical. And I know that the economic impact, because there are people from all over the state, all over the world, Ukraine. So that's really exciting. And then I'm super thrilled that HPU is doing that rowing investment, paid $104,000 to add the additional docks. So, and also, Councilmember McKeever and I went to the ribbon cutting yesterday at the Workman's School of Dentistry at HPU, and to see the growth of that university in our city and adding the assets that it does, I'm thrilled that they are now having a D1 rowing team. So thank you. Anything else? Anything else? Okay, well, I don't have to close this meeting, but thank you all. That was a great presentation, and y'all have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.